Next on BYUSN, an official Big 12 welcome to Colorado. The Buffs are back, but the conference wants at least one more. So who do you want the Big 12 to target next in imminent expansion?
And college football insider Brett McMurphy will join us to break down Colorado's move to the Big 12 and what's next for both the Big 12 and the Pac-12.
Welcome to BYU Sports Nation, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. It is Friday, July 28th. I am Spencer Linton. He is Brett Yormark's number 2 fan, because I declared that I was number 1 to Brett himself when we interviewed him. He is Jason Shepard.
By the way, I don't know if did you end up telling the story about how you, after the interview that you had, and you were talking about the suits, that you found Brett Yormark on the field at Cowboy Stadium, and he's like, hey, you may not have to go as far as I thought.
Yes, it was a validating meeting and compliment coming from a guy who said he works very hard to be able to fit into and wear those suits appropriately to have his New York suit guy. But he said, hey, buddy, you're looking pretty good. This might actually work out for you. It was great.
Then there's the part about being able to afford the suits that Commissioner Yormark has.
Yeah, that's a separate conversation.
It's a completely, but yes, look, if I have to settle for being the number 2 Brett Yormark fan, that's fine.
Okay, I've started a GoFundMe for Spencer's Brett Yormark suit guy suit. Feel free to donate a few pennies here and there.
Oh, boy. Let's just go ahead and move on. On today's show, with the Big 12 reportedly looking to add more schools than just Colorado, who's in the mix, and which program or programs do we want to see join the Cougars in the Big 12? Brett McMurphy, as we mentioned, from the Action Network, joins us to talk about Colorado returning to the Big 12 and what's next for both the Big 12 and the Pac-12. Basketball assistant coach Cody Feger talks about preparing for the Big 12 and when we may see the upcoming college basketball schedule, and what storyline will we be watching when BYU football fall camp begins next week. It is already here.
They report Monday. All rise and shout. Let's get to what's trending.
The stability is in the Big 12. It's the big story. It's the college football story today.
Let's roll on a Friday. What's trending, presented by Feastbox, donating 10% of every order to Full of Hope, a charitable organization that feeds hungry families. Following Colorado's official announcement that the Buffs will indeed join the Big 12, college football insider Brett McMurphy, who will join us in about 12 minutes, reported that the Big 12 will seek to add between 1 and 3 teams for the 2024 season, beginning with Pac-12 schools who are interested at the top of that list, and then looking to the group of 5 if no other Pac-12 teams accompany Colorado in their jump to the Big 12. So, Jason, based on this report, and now that Colorado is officially in the conference, who are your top expansion targets among the list that McMurphy put out to potentially join the Big 12? And specifically reference were Arizona, Utah, Arizona State, Oregon, Washington, and then the group of 5 teams, UConn and or San Diego State.
Look, the biggest gets out of the Pac-12, you start with Oregon. So you're looking at Oregon and Washington. Those are probably your 2 biggest gets. The issue there is they clearly have an eye on the Big Ten.
And that's why it feels like a pipe dream to me.
Yes, so if you bring them in, it kind of feels like it's a short-term rental, and that if the opportunity came to go to the Big Ten, they would leave the Big 12 to go there. So I just don't know how feasible that is. For people that have tuned into the show or follow me on social media, you know where I stand on Utah. I'm perfectly fine to have BYU and Utah go their separate ways. So I'm not in the camp that says go get Utah. That's not me.
Okay.
I think you're probably right now, and it feels like this is where a lot of the smoke is going. You see a lot of reports talk about Arizona. That feels like that right now would be the most likely option.
Publicly, they've had the most,
correct.
At least as far as we know in the public, they've had the most conversation of any Pac-12 team with the Big 12 regions.
Arizona sounds like that's probably, if it's going to happen and it's going to be a Pac-12 team, it feels like Arizona is the most likely candidate for that, because we know how much of a premium Commissioner Yormark and the conference is putting on basketball. We know how good of a league that is. It just kind of makes sense to get that basketball program in the best basketball conference in the country.
The realistic choice for me, and I'm with you, yes, if Oregon and Washington, or Oregon just alone, or even Washington alone, were interested in leaving the Pac-12 and joining the Big 12, huge win for Brett Yormark, because all of a sudden he gets into a new area of the country, he gets his Pacific time zone team, and now the conference indeed expands over all 4 time zones. It becomes a national conference by the definition of where the geography is of each of these teams. So it'll be a huge win if he gets an Oregon or Washington. Stanford and Cal are not going to happen. Like that, I'm just telling you, like they are nowhere in the conversation.
Correct.
Like that, I do not believe for 1 second that that could ever be a possibility, because of just how Stanford and Cal are structured and their political values,
and what's
their
important
beliefs,
to them, yes.
Like they just, whatever. Like those teams could go independent, Jason, Stanford specifically, and be just fine.
Right.
Like
Which it ultimately may end up being what their option is.
Like they could join the West Coast Conference in all sports and go independent in football, and with their endowment, it would be no problem at all. Cal, I'm worried about a little bit because they've been bleeding money, but point is, they don't feel like they're in the conversation at all. I don't feel like that is feasible at all. It's either Utah, Arizona State, or maybe in Oregon if they get desperate.
Do you find it odd that the Arizona State side of things, there really doesn't seem to be any momentum with Arizona State?
Yeah, I don't know why.
You don't hear their name much at all.
I mean, maybe
it's interesting.
Maybe they jump into the conference. Let's say Arizona goes.
Right.
At that point, Arizona State's like, okay, hey, Utah, like the other 2 four-corner schools, Colorado and Arizona, have gone. Like, we're now down to 8 teams in the Pac-12. The ending seems inevitable. Should we just couple ourselves and go and make it a 16-team conference? I mean, I know you wouldn't like that to have Utah, back in the fold, but if Arizona leaves and the Pac-12 cannot expand, that seems like the natural course of action for Utah and Arizona State.
I will say this about Utah, and this is publicly, this is what you read from behind the scenes. It feels like Utah, of all the schools, is the one that is the most pro Pac-12 in terms of wanting to make it work more than anybody else.
Why would they, and I understand, Jason, why would they want to leave a conference now that has only 9 teams when they are the big dog in said conference?
They are not the biggest brand. That goes to Oregon. But the best team.
They're playing the best football.
From a football perspective, they're the best team in that conference. They're not the biggest brand, but they're the best team.
So why would you want to leave?
Yeah.
Like
I can understand
You've
it.
won the league the last 2 years, and now the conference is getting even smaller. USC and UCLA are going away.
Yeah.
So you have no threat from USC or the Bruins, for that matter. LA is out of the equation. Colorado was never in the championship equation, but you only play 8 conference games, and you are playing the best brand of football in the conference and most consistent. Why would you want that to disband?
Yeah, they're the most public
about
wanting the Pac-12.
Yes.
So I think if they ever move, if they ever decided to go to the Big 12, it would be absolute last resort. That's how I read that situation.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, and this was floated out by Heather Dinich, who is a college football insider. She said a Big 12 source told me their athletic directors had a meeting this morning and repeated what Heather told to everyone yesterday. 14 teams seem to be their best number.
Yeah.
Brett Yormark told us that a few weeks ago. She added, the question is, and she quoted somebody from her Big 12 source, who wants to be the first to really be a part of the Big 12 now and join us? We've got room for one more. We were having some fun. We made the analogy, and I think you were perfect in this. You said there's one donut left in the box. And
you got like 4 or 5 people standing around, everybody giving each other the eye like, hey, who's going to be the one that reaches for it first?
Who wants it? But it's not a great, because the Pac-12 is the way they are, it's like it's a donut, yes, but maybe it's been sitting there for a minute, and so it's like
a day old, glazed.
I kind of want that because there is this faith element. Like, it's probably going to taste pretty good, but I don't know. But maybe I should do it just to make sure I get it before the other 4.
But do I want the donut versus a granola bar?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. We need to stop talking about food. My stomach's already growling. I'm sure my mic's picking that up right now.
It's well played. I mean, straight up, if I had to rank them, you know, as to who I think wants the donut most compared to the others, I think that the group of 5 teams want it the most.
Yes.
But they're in the second group of people.
Yeah.
Like, they're back here looking over the shoulders of the 4 or 5 up front.
They're the contingency plan.
Right?
They're the contingency plan.
They're going to come in and clean it up if nobody takes the donut.
They're going to come in and get the crumbs.
Okay.
They're going to be doing this. They're going to go.
Yes. Arizona's top of the list.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, Arizona's top of the list because that feels realistic, followed by Oregon, Arizona State, Washington, and then Utah. Yeah. And frankly, for Utah, they should, like, I understand why they don't want to.
Yeah. It does make sense from their perspective. I get it.
All right. So our question of the day, with Colorado now in the Big 12, who do you want the Big 12 ultimately to target next in what feels like inevitable conference expansion to get to 14? At Go Cougars, and Go is spelled G-E-A-U-X, so I'm guessing there's a Louisiana tie there. Arizona makes the most sense. If the Big 12 expands beyond that, they would have to add 2, Oregon and Washington. Adding Utah might help with football strength, but hurts in every other aspect. Come on now. Doesn't make sense at all. Yes, Utah's men's basketball program has not been great, but Utah gymnastics, Utah softball, Utah volleyball, like, they're all strong programs. Come on. I know they're rivals, but, like, they hurt in every other aspect. Let's be real.
Will you just let Go Cougars enjoy his tweet?
Fine.
Okay? Or his X, whatever they're calling those now.
Waffle_house_RFC on Instagram says, Utah, they want Utah. Need the rivalry to continue and have conference and maybe one day playoff implications.
Certainly ups the ante, doesn't it?
Can you imagine playing Utah for a potential spot, let's say in the Big 12 championship game, which like would probably mean a spot in the college football playoff? Like, can you imagine the pressure and the buildup to a game like that? You don't want that, do you?
How different would it be from the days in the WAC battling each other for that to those types of stakes?
Holy cow. Hashtag BYUSN to join the conversation. Who do you want the Big 12 to target next as team number 14?
After further review, rolls out the annual touchdown show next Tuesday. All the touchdowns from the 2022 season. You can watch it Tuesday at 7 Eastern on the BYUtv app.
Joining us next is college football insider Brett McMurphy. Yeah, the guy who was the first to say 100% Colorado is going to join the Big 12. Well, Brett was right. And I think he's going to be right about a few other things, including who could join potentially. That's next on BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is sponsored by Feastbox Global Grill, a unique dining experience featuring Texas, Hawaiian, and Korean meats. Time to feast.
If you're looking to build your brand awareness and increase market share as BYU moves into the Big 12, this is the place, BYU Athletics. We can provide the tools you need to make sure your company is seen and heard. BYU Athletics is where you can align your products and services with loyal fans that cheer for our Cougars. And they can also help your business win. Learn more about what a partnership with BYU Athletics and your company will look like. After all, this is the place. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
Imagine living during the Depression. Times are lean, and for many, the road seems long. Like for the Bailey family, whose lives are upended by devastating losses and constant challenges, including opposition within the family.
I will not allow you to take the children away with you.
Join Honey and her children as they navigate their trials with a spirit of hope and gratitude to see them through.
I think everything will work out fine in the end.
We are live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. I'm Spencer Linton alongside Jason Shepard. The topic of the week continues. Big 12 expansion and Colorado leaving the Pac-12. One of the forefront reporters and a guy who has been all over the story, longtime friend of the program, Brett McMurphy, is joining us now on BYU Sports Nation. Brett, first of all, incredible job by you and your staff to get ahead of this story. I feel like you called it, man. So how has your week been as you have pushed through this process of Colorado leaving the Pac-12 and once again becoming a member of the Big 12?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's been going on for a while. You know, I wish I could have told you guys a few months ago that you were going to be aligned with Colorado, but I had to keep it quiet. I didn't want to scoop myself. But yeah, I mean, the Colorado Chancellor and AD met with Brett Yormark in Chicago back in May, had discussions about Colorado moving to the Big 12, and I think ultimately they got frustrated that there's no media rights deal. There still isn't a media rights deal, and they feel there's more stability in the Big 12. They want to be partnered with ESPN and Fox, and I think, you know, this isn't a 1 or 2 year decision. This is a, 10 or 25 year decision. And I think they realize what I do, and that is, the Pac-12 without USC and UCLA, the possibility of Oregon and Washington going to the Big Ten at some point, it's really not what Colorado signed up when they first got to the Pac-12, and so they have this opportunity to come back to the Big 12, where they were a member. I think it was the Big 6 or Big 7 back then, and they got Deion. They got a lot of momentum. And so, yeah, I think it's great for the league. And now we have to find out who the other dance partner is going to be, because sources told me, I reported yesterday, that the Big 12 will not stick at 13 for the 2024 season. They will go to 14 schools. Who will be that 14th school? We'll find out probably in the next few weeks or months. Maybe it drags out a little bit more than that. But, yeah, there will be even more movement.
Well, and let's just go right there, Brett. I mean, as you mentioned, they're not done. They're going to at least go one more, and I guess there's a possibility of even more than the one. But we know the names that are at least out there, and teams like Arizona being talked about, the Four Corner Schools being talked about, UConn, San Diego State. In your mind, where do you think that what's the pecking order right now with all of the options out there for the Big 12? What's the pecking order in your mind?
Well, there's not necessarily a pecking order. They want a Pac-12 school. So that is the number one priority. They will wait out the Pac-12, however long that is. To give an example, when Missouri jumped to the SEC, they made that announcement in November and then joined the SEC the next year. So it's not like this has to be done in the next few weeks. They could go as long as November or probably even January if they wanted. If they can't get a Pac-12 school to get up to 14, then at that point they would choose from the Group 5. The 4 candidates, I'm told, are a couple close to you guys, San Diego State and UNLV, and then also UConn and Memphis. The challenge for all of those guys, except for Memphis, is they would have to pay an exit fee in excess of $30 million. I don't know how they're going to be able to pull that off. Memphis has to provide a $10 million exit fee, and that's if they provide 27 months notice. I mean, they would be basically providing 27 days of notice. So that exit fee is probably going to be doubled. I know that Big 12 wants to get to 14 for 2024, and then the vision of the conference is to ultimately get up to 16 a couple of years down the road. I think the dream scenario for the Big 12 is if they could get the remaining 4 corner schools, which would be Arizona, Arizona State, and what's that other one?
We don't know, Brett. We don't say that name here.
Yeah.
Brett McMurphy of the Action Network is on BYU Sports Nation, does a fantastic job as a college football insider. Brett, when you look at, let's say, Arizona, because it feels like based on everybody's reporting, and yours included, that Arizona seems to be at the forefront. After everything that you've gone through in the past 48 hours and more conversations you've had, do you feel like Arizona is number one on the list for Brett Yormark in the Big 12, and then it's the rest of everybody else in the Pac-12, and then the group of 5 teams you just discussed?
I don't necessarily think they're number one on the list. I think they've had the most discussions. I reported yesterday that Bobby Robbins, Arizona's president, met in Houston at the Final Four in person with Yormark to discuss potential Big 12 membership. So I kind of compare this to maybe like a mile run, and Arizona's out in front right now, but, they could get passed up. And I don't think the Big 12 is sitting waiting to get an answer from Arizona before moving on to someone else. If someone else from the Pac-12 came to them and said, look, we're ready, let's go right now, what I'm told is the Big 12 is not going to go, hold on, let's see what Arizona thinks. I think they'll take whoever they can to get to 14. And then, if there's 3 that'll make the jump, then they would go to 16.
We were obviously joking about the University of Utah, but there's certainly an interesting option for the Big 12. And here locally, it's, sort of polarized. You got some BYU fans would love to see the 2 teams back in the same conference. You've got, another part of the fan base that wants to see them go down with the sinking ship in the Pac-12. Utah does appear to be the most pro-Pac-12 program staying together. Do you believe Utah would consider a move to the Big 12 possibly in the near future?
Look, I think anything is possible. And look, I think what I've been told is Utah feels, some loyalty to the Pac-12. They got them out of the Mountain West, in the past dozen years. I mean, kudos to Utah. There's been 12 schools that have changed Power 5 conferences or moved up to the Power 5 ranks. Utah is the only school of those 12 that has actually won a conference title, moving up to a better league. So there is a sense of loyalty there. I think they want the Pac-12 to survive, but, the Pac-12 they signed up for is not there anymore. USC and UCLA are gone. Colorado's gone. Potentially somebody else could be gone. Then they have to make a decision. Do we stick with the Pac-12 or do we do something different if we feel like that's in our best interest? And I'm not minimizing their commitment to the Big 12. I think that's legitimate. But everybody's committed until they're not committed, So will that change? I don't know. I don't have any inside info that they're seriously considering moving. I just know that it's an option that every Pac-12 school has to be looking at and considering. And until the Pac-12 gets a media rights deal, the unknown and the speculation will continue.
Brett McMurphy, college football insider for the Action Network, is with us on BYU Sports Nation. With Colorado's move to the Big 12 and now the Pac-12 at 9 teams from 2024 on and moving forward, there are many who feel like this is the start of the end for the Pac-12. Do you feel that way? And if the Pac-12 is to survive, what is the course of action that George Kliavkoff and the brass of the Pac-12 need to take in order to remain relevant and stay alive as a conference?
To survive, they need to get a grant of rights deal done like yesterday. They need to have all the remaining members sign that grant of rights for however long that is, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, and then that will give them some stability. You obviously can't have a 9-team conference. I mean, you can, but now the issue is, let's say nobody else leaves the Pac-12. You've got 9 teams. I talked about the exit fees for San Diego State and UNLV, any other Mountain West teams. San Diego State couldn't afford $17 million. How are they going to afford $34 million? So then do you go get an SMU? That's a possibility. But if the Pac-12 stays at 9 schools, then you're down to 8 conference games. So that means you've got to add a non-conference game for 2024. And as you guys know all too well, all these schools book out their non-conference schedules for like the next 50 years. So how are you going to find an additional opponent which obviously you're going to have to pay to come play in your stadium. So, you can add other schools. It's not going to keep an Oregon or Washington from accepting an invitation to the Big Ten. The Pac-12 could have a 32-team conference by tomorrow. And if the Big Ten came for Oregon or Washington, they would leave. Maybe schools wouldn't go to the Big 12, but still, if Oregon or Washington gets that invite, they're gone. So the long-term look for the Pac-12 probably isn't really good right now, but maybe they can figure something out. The other thing that kind of makes the Pac-12 different, because they're in a similar situation that the Big 12 was in when they lost OU in Texas. The biggest difference with the Pac-12 is because of their geography, they have limited options. I mean, I guess you can try to pull some teams from the East. I don't know how in the world that would work. It would look like Frankenstein, quite honestly. So I don't know what their options are. They've got a lot of options, but unfortunately, they all smell like bad fish.
I want to go back to something that you just touched on, and probably the biggest takeaway that I had from the Board of Regents meeting that we all tuned in for yesterday via the live stream was they kept talking about stability, and that was the number one reason that they made this jump, was they wanted stability and they thought they have it with the Big 12. Can you speak to what Bob Bowlesby, the previous commissioner of the Big 12, and now Brett Yormark, the current commissioner, have done with this conference in the last 2 years when things did not look great for the Big 12, what they've done in a short period of time to be able to put the conference on the firm ground that they're in right now?
Well, the main thing was Brett Yormark getting the media rights deal done a year early. It kept everybody locked in. And they got, they actually increased the amount of revenue that they had with OU in Texas, which is kind of mind-boggling. And then kind of the bottom fell out with all the media companies, ESPN, the mass layoffs, and other media companies. So they hit it at the perfect time. I've seen Yormark say in other interviews that if the Big 12 tried to get that deal now, that they wouldn't be able to get it. The landscape has changed. So that was a big part of it. And look, I'm an Oklahoma State guy, so when I rip the Big 12, I'm ripping my alma mater's conference. The reason why the Big 12 has stability is because nobody else wants them. Nobody else wants the teams in the league. The SEC got OU in Texas. They didn't want anybody else, so they would have got them. The Big 10 doesn't want anybody from the Big 12, or they would have got them. And so, the difference between the media rights between the three remaining power conferences is basically the same. So the Big 12 school is not going to leave to go to the ACC. A Big 12 school is not going to leave to go to the Pac-12. And so kind of the Big 12 kind of established itself as this third conference. And ironically now, they have the greatest stability of the non-SEC Big 10 conferences, when just a couple of years ago, everyone thought they were going to splinter up and blow away in the wind.
Brett, you always keep it real. In fact, you and I talked about this at Big 12 Media Days on the field near the Cowboy Star, and you said, hey, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to be the realist for BYU fans, got to keep things real. So before you go, I do need to ask you just about your expectations for BYU in year one of Big 12 play. And you mentioned that BYU's kind of locked in this group of 7 or 8 teams that could all go 5-7 or 7-5. So what do you feel like BYU is going to do, and is a realistic ceiling for the Cougars in year one of Big 12 play?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I can't remember if I mentioned this to you, but I'm picking Texas Tech to win the league. I think because there's just so much balance, I think they're kind of like TCU was last year. Yeah. A lot of similarities. Look, I know Texas is the heavy favorite. They should be, but until Texas does it, I'm not going to pick them. I don't think they'll do it. And you're right. After that, OU included, I think there's a log jam of 8 to 10 teams that could finish anywhere from 2nd to 10th. So I could sit here and say BYU's going to finish 2nd or BYU's going to finish 10th, and I'd probably have the same odds of getting it right. I don't know. I think that the fact that Texas Tech, my pick to win it, has to go to BYU. I think that's going to be a tough trip. OU going to BYU in November, that's going to be a tough trip for the Sooners. I think the Big 12 schools are going to find out very quickly how tough of an environment it is to play there, and also with the altitude, that would be a big difference that none of the Big 12 schools have really encountered. So I'm not trying to cop out here. I'm just saying I honestly don't know. A week before the season, I'm going to get a hat, and I'm going to draw names out of the hat, and that's going to be my projected finish for the Big 12. And I will make a friendly wager, for a meal when I see you in Dallas next year. I will beat some of these preseason magazines by picking names out of a hat, because that's how balanced this league is.
Oh, I love it. Like I said, keeping it real. By the way, I hope you got a raise this week, man. This is unbelievable stuff from you, and I'm sure it's been crazy. But as always, fantastic job. Great to have you on the show. And remind people how they can find more of your work.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Brett_McMurphy, and all my stuff's on the Action Network, actionnetwork.com. And just wanted to give a quick shout out to BYU AD Tom Holmoe. I got to see him in Dallas, and I know that now that he's in a conference, he has the easiest job of any AD in the country. He doesn't have any games to schedule anymore, so he's probably not listening to this because he's probably vacationing in the south of France. So if you guys see him in the next 3 or 4 months, please give him my regards.
You got it.
We'll do that.
We'll make sure this is clipped off and he hears it and sees it. Brett, thanks for the time. Great to talk to you.
Thanks, Brett.
Anytime, guys. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic stuff with Brett McMurphy.
He's great, and you touched on it at the end there. He's been all over this, and he was the first one that said Colorado to the Big 12 is done. He was the first that said that.
Yes.
Other people said it's trending that way. He said, no, it's done. They're going in 2024.
Yeah, he went 100% all in. He was the first to go there. And what I love about Brett, among a lot of things, is he is so sourced. Like, before he does anything, everything is so well thought out. He is not the guy that is like, first on Twitter, I got to be first. He will always be thorough. And then if he's second or third, it's when I read something from him, I believe it. Right. Because I feel like he's
got the credibility.
Extremely thorough and sourced, and good for him. I mean, all over this story. And he was the first, frankly, to report the specifics of the group of 5 teams that could potentially come in if the Big 12 is not able to secure an additional Pac-12 team or 3. So, hats off to Brett McMurphy.
Nobody should get comfortable. We're going to have more expansion. It's not done yet.
Seriously.
Not done yet. All right, if you missed any interviews, Deep Blue shows, or games, you can always find them on BYUSN.com, or you can download the BYUtv app to get all the BYUtv sports content on demand.
Fall camp for BYU football. Oh, yeah, that. It starts next week. Players report on Monday, first practice on Tuesday. What are we hoping to learn about the Cougars that we don't already know over the next few weeks? This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
When my grandfather started this company in 1947, he couldn't have envisioned what we would ultimately become. We realized that our value to our customers is that we will be there day after day, year after year, doing whatever we need to find solutions to the challenges that they face. We are committed to be honestly better in all that we do, in every opportunity that we have to serve our customers.
Everyone loves going to the dentist, right? When was the last time you had your teeth cleaned? Heart disease, Alzheimer's, stroke, dementia, and other inflammatory health conditions can be linked to periodontitis, a severe stage of gum disease. To help fight against gum disease, have your teeth cleaned regularly by a dentist or hygienist. To review the science behind these findings, go to visityourdentist.org. Dental cleanings are essential for your health. This message is brought to you by the eAssist Dental Health Education Foundation.
They prefer to be bringing the heat, getting set for success, demonstrating their drive. But when their blood and sweat turns to tears or anything else, we lay the groundwork for BYU's athletes to hit the ground running again. And you as well. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by BYU Food to Go, the MVP of your next event.
Follow BYU Sports Nation on social media for content throughout the day on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Threads. Is Threads still a thing?
Boy, it got hot for about 3 days, and then I feel
it's
like it's just
fallen off
died.
the face of the
I feel like it has died. Am I wrong? I don't know.
No.
Welcome back to Studio B. He is Jason Shepard. I am Spencer Linton. Hope you're enjoying your Friday. Great show that we've already put on for you today with all the expansion talk. Just spoke with Brett McMurphy. If you missed that, again, you could find that on demand. Headline sponsored by BYU Food to Go, the MVP of your next event.
Colorado made it official yesterday, making the move to the Big 12 Conference. As Spencer just mentioned, Brett McMurphy, who just joined us, reported that the Big 12 is now looking to add between 1 and 3 more teams by next year.
BYU football begins fall camp next week. Players report Monday. Practice starts on Tuesday. All of the position battles, any drama there. What's the new look defense really going to do? And how does Keaton Slovis look at quarterback? Who's going to be the backup quarterback for that matter? Great stuff on the way next week.
Former Cougar starting pitcher Michael Rucker pitched a scoreless inning for the Cubs and struck out one batter. Chicago beating the Cardinals last night in St. Louis 10-3.
Those are the headlines. Let's offer some opinions and whip it. The Cougar Whip Round presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
All right, with fall camp beginning on Monday with players reporting, practices on Tuesday, what do you hope to learn about BYU during fall camp?
I don't know that I feel like there is something that I don't already have a pretty good grasp on, frankly.
Yeah.
There has been so much conversation, and Kalani and his staff have been very open and very enlightening as to what is actually happening. So, Jason, there's not like one thing that I'm like, oh, I really want to learn this because I don't know. The only thing that maybe still feels like a little bit of a mystery is just how Jay Hill will execute his defense and how much he'll actually show in fall camp with the limited time we get to watch. So maybe maybe like what will the defense look like and how aggressive will it be? And then the backup quarterback position is always a fun battle.
Yeah, you and I are kind of on the same page. They've got 1 and 1A, what the defense actually looks like. And it's not stuff I want to learn, it's more stuff I want to see. I want to see Keaton Slovis. I want to see Keaton Slovis in this offense nearing the beginning of the season.
BYU has been at the forefront, as they are usually, of most social media pushes, Jason. And yesterday, welcoming Colorado to the Big 12 was no different. Incredible work from BYU. Did they have the best welcome tweet and presentation to Colorado on social media, going the Barbie movie route?
Look, we're going to be biased on this. I think the answer is yes. Look, it's topical, it's funny, and it's a perfect social media post. So yeah, I'm going to say that BYU won it.
It's so well played, yes. The timeliness is
Have you seen the Barbie movie
I have
yet?
not. I heard it's great.
I have not seen it either.
I heard it's great. I saw Boney Fuller made a modification to that video. He added one logo.
Yes.
Just one more logo.
Just one
and
logo.
It happened to be the Pac-12 logo to the guy who was not involved in the dance.
All right, here we go. This just grosses me out. Skittles is teaming up with French's Mustard.
Why?
To make mustard flavor Skittles.
Why?
Will you try them?
No. Why?
It's gross.
Why? What is the point? Shock and awe? You wanted to be this huge financial failure? Congratulations, you've done it. You wasted everyone's money and taste buds.
I love Skittles. I like mustard. I don't want mustard Skittles. Nope.
It's disgusting.
No. It's gross.
Gross. Why? BYU men's basketball assistant coach Cody Feger is going to explain the whys of his trip to Portugal and beyond, most recently, as he's on his recruiting tour. And when are we going to find out the non-conference schedule? He'll answer that next. This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.